everyone, it's Michelle Caruana from Play Cafe Academy and Profitable Play. And I'm really excited for today's video because it's definitely going to be very different from what I normally put on this channel. But to be honest, I could probably do like a part 2, part 3, part 4 to this video. And I have so many other fun ideas for this channel planned. So if you guys like this type of video, this type of style, kind of mixed in with my normal educational, to the point business content, please let me know because these types of videos are so fun. And again, I have so many ideas. So please comment if you like this type of video or leave suggestions or if you want a part 2 and like this video if you enjoy this. And I really had to do this. I really had to shake things up because again, I've been putting out so much very actionable, but very dry business content out there. Like I think I spent like 8 hours this week planning my podcast series all about planning, promoting, and executing profitable summer camps. I think my script for that was like 20 pages. So I just needed like a little comedic relief. And I really hope you enjoy this video. I think you're going to like it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, again, please subscribe because I have a lot of these similar videos planned. But one of my favorite things, about looking back as an indoor playground owner, having sold my business and no longer actively operating, is that I have more perspective. So we always hear that like hindsight is 2020, right? And that's part of the reason why I'm so successful helping others launch successful, profitable indoor playgrounds. It was much harder to do that when I myself was in the weeds, operating every day. Sometimes it's so hard to see the big picture when you're in the thick of it. Like when I was watching Frozen the other day with my kids, Anna says, you just have to know to do the next right thing or something like that. And that's really all you can do when you're in active ownership. You need a lot of guidance. You really don't have that, again, big picture perspective to provide to other people. So that's one of the things that I love about being an indoor playground owner that has since transitioned to another business. I love having that hindsight. And again, it really helps me coach my Play Cafe Academy students and my coaching membership Play Cafe Academy students to success because I'm able to look back and again, be able to see more clearly what worked, what didn't, and I'm able to travel and see other spaces and learn and grow and evolve, all that stuff. But having said all that, another reason that I love having sold my indoor playground business, and I don't even live in the town that it operated in anymore, is I can do fun things like this. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through my old cafe's Instagram feed, which is no longer active. I don't even have access to the account anymore. So I'm going to be giving you like the public view of it because when I sold my business, I gave over access to that Instagram account. And since they closed during the pandemic, it's no longer active. So don't go follow it because there's no more posts going out. I don't even have access to it anymore. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my feed and I'm going to share what I posted versus the real story behind the picture. So this is something that I would have never done in active ownership. I probably wouldn't even have done it if I was still in the town that I was operating in. But now that I'm very much removed, I feel comfortable doing this. And the reason I wanted to do this video is because not everything, obviously not everything is what it seems on social media. So everything looks all butterflies and rainbows and pretty and polished and perfect. And owning an indoor playground or a play cafe looks so glamorous and looks so fun from the outside. So I really wanted to pull back the curtain a little bit and share more of what it's like really in the day-to-day, especially if you're a parent of young children. So that's what we're going to do today. And again, if you want a part 2, part 3, or more videos like this, please let me know. Again, I am so lucky to be able to do this. I think that's all I wanted to say. So again, let's talk about what I posted versus the real story behind the post. All right, so I went ahead and pulled up a bunch of posts. I could do so many more, but these are the few that jumped out in my feed to me. So the first one is my lovely son, Silas. I think he was about 3 to 4 years old in this picture. Well, it was 2019, so he had to have been around 3. And we had just purchased this new pirate ship. It's an ECR for kids pirate ship for our indoor playground. And I was so proud of it. I saved up a while for it because, I like to put a little bit away every single month for reinvesting in new toys and things like that. I don't like to make big purchases just out of nowhere. So I had just purchased this, and literally 5 minutes after I took this picture, he ripped that red steering wheel off. And we were never able to put it back on. We tried to Gorilla Glue it, we tried everything. And he ripped it right off, and I cried after that picture was taken. Sometimes our own kids really do it to us and really humble us severely. All right, next post. This was my son Benjamin's 4th birthday party. We did T-Rex balloons. I spent so much time working on this theme. I picked out the balloons in advance. I did those little like paper floofy things. I really tried to bring his vision to life. He walked in this room and cried so hard because he was terrified of the T-Rex balloons. Apparently they were too scary. He was still, I mean, he was 4 years old, so he was still more into like the cartoon, dialed down vision of dinosaurs. So he was absolutely terrified. Again, he cried pretty much until his guests came. And this was something I was really proud of. So it kind of broke my heart. But yeah, sometimes, again, our kids love to humble us. All right, this next picture is me breastfeeding my son Silas. And I had this picture taken professionally. It wasn't on purpose. We were doing a photo shoot for the business, and he happened to need to eat. And she asked me if she could snap some pictures while we were doing this. Now it looks all nice. And I even say in the caption, like, oh, these precious moments, wouldn't trade them for the world. But what I didn't put is that I probably spent like literally the first 2 years of his life sitting on the floor, sitting on the couch, walking around, just breastfeeding him constantly. We didn't know that he was autistic at the time. Obviously, he was an infant, but he was just one of those kids. He never drank from a bottle ever in his life, not like a single time. We spent thousands of dollars on baby bottles trying to find the right one, but he just wouldn't take any of them. We tried syringe feeding him, spoon feeding him. We tried cups when he was old enough. He was just attached. So unfortunately, this caused a lot of issues. Again, I exposed myself probably to a lot of our customers. It was just something, again, I just was known as that business owner that would walk around, feeding her son all the time. And again, it really humbled me. And, I'm, typically a pretty, polished, buttoned up person. But there was milk stains, there was snafus, there was biting, there was all sorts of stuff. So while I loved being able to breastfeed him, I feel very, very lucky. Breastfeeding and being a business owner in like a brick and mortar business, not for the faint of heart. However, I still feel like I'm like kind of like Popeye because I used to carry him like this or like in a carrier. And this arm is still like significantly bigger and stronger than this arm, even like years after breastfeeding. So even like looking at this picture, I love it, but it gives me back such PSD from having to do this all the time in public when people are looking up to me as the owner of the business. It was it was something I really had to get used to. All right, this next picture, it's going to be really hard to see, but this was another photo from that professional photo shoot. I got my kids dressed up in their nice plaid shorts, and I was really excited to get some fresh brand photos for our website and our social media. And if you zoom in, I'll try to zoom in for you, but literally a couple minutes before we took this picture. So I was working this day, and I had his dad bring him into the cafe. And I don't remember if I told him like why he was dressed like that or what the situation was, but he showed up to our brand photo shoot without a change of clothes with paint all over his shirt. And it was super obvious. And I was so upset because, again, I built this space for them. So I really wanted them in the pictures, and I wanted them to be perfect and polished. And he literally showed up absolutely covered in paint. And it was another one of those days where I cried, and I just, again, humbled. That should be the theme of this video is, how my kids humbled me as a business owner who looked perfectly polished and put together. But yeah, I cried after this because those brand photos are not cheap. And again, I didn't have a change of clothes, and I only had like a half hour with this photographer. So I'm still so mad about that. All of our pictures look like this. All right, next picture. Okay, so this is my son Benjamin and my other son Silas playing in the kitchen. What I wanted to share is that, first of all, caption, again, classic, just using their imagination. They were screaming, fighting before and after this picture was taken. They were throwing those wooden play food items. So in Benjamin's hand is a wooden cake. That didn't last very long. Kids started again throwing the wooden food. So we had to invest in more like rubber food. We love learning resources, by the way. But also, if you zoom in, this playhouse was like $18,000. And if you zoom in, it is so worn on the inside. And we repainted it and touched it up constantly. We did a full repaint like every 6 months. And still within a couple months, it was so dingy looking on the inside. So much so that I mean, I wish I had known about photo editing then. I didn't. And by the way, if you're laughing at my like, 2018, 2019 Instagram filters, don't come for me because, you know, presets and Facetune and photo editing, it just wasn't a thing then. So please don't come for me. But looking back, I wish I would have like edited the scuffs out, but this was such a pain point for me that I spent that much money on a playhouse and it needed that much maintenance. And literally, you can zoom in and look by Silas's arm, and like in the front of him, the paint came off immediately because kids were banging toys against it, kids were leaning against it. And I remember looking at this picture later and just being a little upset. So again, sometimes you have to look at the details to really get the story behind these pictures. This next post. This was a princess birthday party that we booked. It was our highest package, tons of add-ons, and a princess party company that we had hired bailed at the last minute. Now, this wasn't the well-known one in the area. Unfortunately, I had reached out to that company and they were already booked for the day, as they should be, because they're one of the biggest party rental or character rental places in the area that our play cafe was in. And the place that we had hired for that day is no longer in business. Shocker. But so I had to like run to like the Halloween store, and they didn't even have like a hoop skirt or anything. I had to run and get a princess dress, a cheap blonde wig, and a tiara. And I had to ask one of our poor cafe staff members to wear the princess dress because I mean, me as a, older mom, I can't really pull it off. And it worked. The little girl was only 2, so she was thrilled, but this was embarrassing. This was a huge source of stress. I called the mom and we laughed about it, but like I let her know obviously, and I offered her a full refund because we never ended up having to pay the vendor. But we obviously didn't want to take the princess visit away from the child, so they did not pay for this. But it was just one of those things where it's like always something. When you have an in-person brick and mortar business, it is always something. Something like this is always happening. So again, looks nice in the picture, was not nice to live out. Okay, a couple more pictures left. So this picture was on our ribbon cutting day. I've told this story before, but this was like 2 weeks after we opened. I had just found out that I was pregnant, I think, like right before this picture was taken. I was very much nauseous, morning sick, terrible. And we were so busy, like to the point where we had all of our staff, like all hands on deck. I was running around like crazy with my son. And the economic development board called me and they were like, hey, can we come right now for a ribbon cutting? And like I said, we were completely packed wall to wall. Our staff was slammed. And I was like, can you come a different day? And they're like, well, we're already on the way. Oh, and we have the town supervisor and we have, all these people with us, and we're going to do your ribbon cutting right now. And I remember taking this picture, and I love this picture, but I was so overwhelmed. I was so in the weeds, so in the thick of it, that I was just, I sped through this. I don't even really remember, honestly, this picture being taken, but I remember that I was just feeling so overwhelmed and like, I wanted to give up this day, honestly. And it was the day I cut the ribbon, which is so funny. Luckily, things ended up slowing down. I was able to delegate more. I got over my morning sickness. But again, to anybody looking at this picture, they would think, wow, this must be the happiest moment of her life. And it was just one of the most stressful days that I've ever had. But I'm so thankful for it. But again, different story behind the picture. This picture was from right when we were like in the middle of our build out. And I cried before and after. Again, I cry a lot, but I cried before and after this picture was taken, and like the whole day, because this was taken. So I posted this in December. And actually this was earlier than that. I think I posted it like as hindsight. But this was in the middle of our build out and we were so delayed. We were spending money on rent. We were losing money left and right. We were like 3 months delayed at this point. And I was waiting in this space. First of all, as you can see, it's a cement floor. Our framing is barely up. It was freezing this day. It was like I think it was in November, and it was very unseasonably cold. And I remember I had my little baby, like 7, 8 months old at the time. And we had to wait there for like over 2 hours because our prospective landlord, who, whatever, he was like 2 hours late for our meeting. And I swear I thought we were going to get hypothermia. And I was really hopeful going into this meeting that he was going to give me some good news. But unfortunately, he gave me the bad news that because it was so unseasonably cold, we were going to keep getting delay after delay after delay. And we ended up opening months after this, even though we were already supposed to be open for months at that time. So even though, this looks like a very exciting development, this was such a disappointing day. And you can even see, like, in my eyes, I'm holding back the tears. And again, I felt so bad at the time because I felt like I was subjecting my son to something completely unnecessary, like having him stand in a freezing cold building with no heat, no utilities for hours, just waiting for this man to show up. No call, no text. He was super inconsiderate. And yeah, just a very disappointing all around, very hard day. And again, it made me want to give up because I was doing this for him. And I felt like, we could be at home laying on a playmat right now, drinking hot chocolate. Why are we here? Why am I doing this? So yeah, it wasn't an easy process, which is a big reason why I created my Play Cafe Academy program. So people can be prepared for things like this and not face these delays and understand the entire process. So I wish I had that when I was opening, that's for sure. All right, this is the last picture that I'm going to do for this round. And then again, let me know if you want me to do a part 2. This is a picture of our other Lilliput playhome, which was again over $10,000, I believe. I think it was maybe just under $10,000. But this was how it looked when we first got it. And it had like the nice little easel. It had art supplies. I was like, oh, this is so exciting. We're going to have like a little creative corner inside of the play area. Literally the first day that we opened, all of those like art clothespins and wires completely ripped off. The kids absolutely destroyed this literally the first day that we were open. The chalk was everywhere. It got on the carpet. It got on the other playhouses. It got on the walls. It got everywhere. So then we moved all of the creative items, the sensory play, anything, again, messy. We moved it out of the play area so that parents were forced to supervise their kids for those activities. But yeah, this is what it looked like when we first opened, and that lasted a whole one day. So we ended up having to like rip those frames out of the wall, which really damaged it, and we had to paint over it. Because even after they ripped out those wires in the art frame, it was just black frames, and it was really weird. So, and people would like hang on them and rip them out of the wall, and then like screws would come loose. Kids are just nuts. They're so much rougher than they are at home, I feel like, when they're in a different environment, even if their parents right there. So yeah, this lasted a whole day. The easel broke as well. So we ended up turning this playhouse into a mini house. So we put a kitchen set in there. We put a Melissa and Doug kids leather couch in there, and that was much better, much more durable, much less messy. But it just goes to show you that you could have one very specific vision for your business, and it could just go a different way and not work out. And that's okay, right? That's a good thing. It's important for us to adapt and be agile in our business and figure out what's working and what's not working. And that's so important in this industry. I could have just given up then. I could have just said, you know what? I'm going to force this. I'm going to make them, have the chalk in this area. And I did for a couple weeks, but eventually I had to say, you know what? We got to try something different. This is not working. And that's one of the things that I really love about my Playmaker Society program is that, first of all, we help prevent any of those mistakes from happening, because as soon as somebody suggests like, hey, I'm going to put this art corner here in the play area where not a lot of parents are going to supervise, I immediately say, you know what, maybe you would rather move that over here and put something else there, something that doesn't make as much of a mess, that isn't going to take as much staff maintenance or as many, man hours to clean up multiple times throughout the day. Or for example, a lot of times people will be looking at like a specific gross motor structure. Someone will jump in and say, you know what, I have this one and I sold it because this didn't work and this slide was too fast and this caused injuries. I love having this group of owners to collaborate with because in all of these pictures, I felt like I was so alone and I felt like nobody knew what I was going through. I didn't have anyone to turn to for advice. So, again, that's exactly why I created my Play Cafe Academy program, which is my course to help you get from daydream to opening day in your business. It helps you design your space, design your revenue streams, come up with your pricing, get funding, sign your lease, choose the best location for your business, all that good stuff. And then I have my membership, which is invite only for Play Cafe Academy students. And that helps with everything after opening day. So, optimizing, staying agile, making improvements, adding new revenue streams, all that good stuff. And it also is a great collaboration community, again, because it is so needed in this industry. It's so difficult. And again, even if you're following a business that looks perfect or, perfectly filtered or perfectly curated on social media, I bet, every indoor playground owner could do this exact same video. So just, even if it feels like you're in the weeds and you're in the thick of it and everyone is more successful than you, again, just remember that the story behind the picture isn't always what it seems. And none of us are perfect. Life is messy. We're all just doing our best and we're all just figuring it out. And again, I love that I have the hindsight now to help people get through these tough times and honestly, most times prevent them altogether. So if you want more information about any of my programs, all of the links are in the video description. And if you want a part two, part three, part four, or more of this type of video, please let me know. I love doing it. So it's great comedic relief. So thank you so much for sticking with me through this video. Even though it's a little different, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.